completely fiscally responsible.
Yes or no, did you lead an audit?
And the way
yes
my
or
leadership
no,
has
did you lead
been
an audit?
stated
Yes or
has
no?
been completely
What are you afraid of? You
mischaracterized.
can't answer this question. Yes or no, did you lead an audit? Do you not know this answer?
Senator, every
yes or
part
no?
of my leadership
yes
of these
no?
organizations
yes
has
or
been
no, did you lead an audit?
misrepresented
I will
from
take
top
that as
to
a no.
bottom.
What were the findings? So there were no findings because you've never led an audit. What guidance did you give the auditors? None, because you've never led an audit. Nobody expects you to be an accountant, Mr. Hegseth. What we expect is for you to understand the complexity.
What we are witnessing is not a routine partisan skirmish, but a life-or-death national security stress test right on the Senate floor. Senator Tammy Duckworth just performed a ruthless, unsparing dissection of Pete Hegseth's resume. The man, gunning for the ultimate seat of power at the Pentagon. Let's cut straight to the core. We are evaluating an individual about to seize control of an $825 billion budget and the most complex military apparatus in the world. Yet, when cornered with an incredibly simple yes or no question regarding his financial competence, specifically whether he had ever overseen an audit for his minuscule 200-person organization, Hegseth completely froze and deflected. The inability to account for a microscopic financial record is a fatal warning siren. If you cannot manage risk on basic accounting ledgers, you have absolutely no business stepping foot inside the situation room to handle global crises. Hegseth's black hole of competence doesn't stop at numbers. Duckworth also exposed a geostrategic void that borders on catastrophic. A Secretary of Defense is required to know the map of global alliances by heart, but Hegseth confidently lumped South Korea, Japan, and Australia into ASEAN. This wasn't a stress-induced slip of the tongue. It is piercing evidence of a fundamental ignorance regarding the Indo-Pacific, America's #1 strategic focal point of this century. This hearing tore right through the superficial culture war smokescreen over women in the military that Hegseth tries to hide behind. Using her own blood and sacrifice, Senator Duckworth called out Washington's ultimate hypocrisy, forcing young troops to bleed themselves dry to meet life-and-death standards while brazenly pressuring the Senate to lower the standards of competence for the man who wants to be their boss. Keep watching until the final minutes, because the moment Duckworth wields the soldier's creed to deliver the coup de grace that strips away Hegseth's arrogance is a masterclass in constitutional oversight. Let's dissect every piece of evidence.
Defense that keeps us safe is being steered by someone who's wholly unprepared for the job, puts America at risk, and I am not willing to do that. With that in mind, Mr. Hegseth, I want you to try to explain to the American people, this committee, who have to vote for you, and to our troops who are deployed around the world, why you are qualified to lead the Department of Defense. We already know that you've only led the largest, a 200-person organization. We already know that you so badly mangled a budget that after you left, they had to bring in a forensic accountant to figure out what went wrong, and that the largest budget you ever managed was about $18 billion. You know, that is about 51,560 times lower than the Department of Defense budget of $825 billion. $16 million is 51,568 times smaller than the defense budget. Please describe to me, Mr. Hegseth, you talk about DOD passing an audit. Please describe to me a time or an organization when that you led underwent an audit, because you say you're going to hire smarter people than you to run this audit. I'm not asking you to be an accountant.
From the perspective of lawmakers and government watchdogs, this is the pathetic collapse of an illusion of power. Duckworth doesn't use ideology to attack, she uses pure math to unmask the nominee. Managing a mere $18 million and leaving behind such a wreck that a forensic accountant had to be called in to clean it up is, by definition, a managerial disaster. But placing that individual at the apex of an $825 billion machine, where every single mistake is paid for with human lives, is the height of irresponsibility by an entire nomination system. The Pentagon sustains its power through supply chains, through budget estimates accurate down to the penny, to ensure our Marines never run out of ammunition. Hegseth's evasion of a simple yes or no answer exposes that he is entirely clueless about the true weight of the word accountability. Anyone who has ever worked in the machinery of government understands this. You don't necessarily have to be an accountant, but you must know how to issue directives to auditors. Answering "there were no findings because I've never led an audit" is the most damning confession of administrative incompetence.
Secretary of Defense has to have breadth and depth of knowledge. Right now, I am concerned that you have neither. Mr. Hegseth, what is the highest level of international negotiations that you have engaged in, that you have led in? Because the Secretary of Defense does lead international security negotiations. There are three main ones that the Secretary of Defense leads and signs. Can you name at least one of them?
Could you repeat the question, Senator?
Sure. What is the highest level of international security agreement that you have led? And can you name some that the Secretary of Defense would lead? There's three main ones. Do you know?
I have not been involved in international security arrangements because I have not been in government other than serving in the military. So my job has been to
no. The
lead
answer is
men
no.
and
Can you
women in
name one of the
combat.
three main ones that the
You're
Secretary
talking
of
about
Defense
defense
signs?
arrangements. I mean, NATO might be one that you're referring to.
Status of Forces Agreement would be one of them.
Status of Forces Agreement. I've been a part of teaching about Status of Forces Agreements.
But you don't
inside
remember to
Afghanistan.
mention it? You're not qualified, Mr. Hegseth. You're not qualified. You talk about repairing our defense industrial complex. You're not qualified to that. You could do acquisition and cross-servicing agreements, which essentially are security agreements. You can't even mention that. You've done none of those. You talked about the Indo-Pacific a little bit, and I'm glad that you mentioned it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact
No, you
amount of
couldn't,
nations
because
in
you've
that,
not
but I
even
know we have
bothered to
allies
do-
in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, trying to work
Okay.
on submarines with them.
Mr.
and data
Hegseth,
transfers
none
with
of those
them.
countries
We
are
have
in
allies
ASEAN.
across.
None of those three countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these.
America's global deterrent power does not rely solely on aircraft carrier fleets. It also depends on the sharp mind and erudition of the person holding the command. What we just watched is a diplomatic disaster broadcast live across the globe. When you covet the chair of the Secretary of Defense, you must know vital treaties like the Status of Forces Agreement by heart, yet Hegseth is completely in the dark. More terrifyingly, we're confidently shoving Japan and South Korea and Australia into ASEAN demonstrates a total bankruptcy of geostrategic thinking when the future Secretary of Defense cannot even discern the map of crucial alliances. Our enemies will start testing our limits, and our allies will bitterly start looking for backup plans. Having a senator tell a cabinet nominee to go do a little homework is a humiliation of national proportions, starkly proving that political umbrellas can never cover up a total vacuum of actual capability.
Types of negotiations. Listen, Mr. Hegseth, we ask our troops to go into harm's way all the time. We ask them to go into harm's way. And this behind me is a copy of the Soldier's Creed, a copy that usually hangs over my desk here in the Senate, and you should be familiar with it. It's the same copy that hung over my desk at Walter Reed every single day that I woke up and fought my way back because I wanted to go back and serve next to my buddies who'd saved my life. This same copy, these words are repeated over and over and over again. And let me read out two things to you, two sentences. I will always place the mission first, and I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained and proficient in my warrior task. Mr. Hegseth, our troops follow these words every single day, and they man up and they pack their rucksacks and they go to war. And they deserve a leader who can lead them, not a leader who wants to lower the standards for himself or raising the standards for other people. And by the way, our troops already meet the standards. We ask troops to man that ship, fight that fire, fly that helicopter until their very last breath. And they do that every single day. They cannot be led by someone who's not competent to do the job. How can we ask these warriors to train and perform the absolute highest standards when you are asking us to lower the standards to make you the Secretary of Defense simply because you are buddies with our president-elect? And by the way, he has filed for bankruptcy 6 times. I'm not quite sure he's the kind of CEO you want to refer to as a successful businessman. Let me make it clear. You can't seem to grasp that there is no U.S. military as we know it without the incredible women that we serve. Women who've earned their place in their units. You have not earned your place as Secretary of Defense. You say you care about keeping our armed forces strong and that you like that our armed forces are meritocracy, then let's not lower the standards for you. You, sir, are a no-go at this station.
This is a head-on collision between two core value systems. On one side, a meritocracy paid for in the blood of the military, and on the other, political cronyism intentionally hollowing out the Pentagon. On the battlefield, no one can buy rank, and political connections cannot act as a bulletproof shield for incompetence. When Senator Duckworth evoked Walter Reed Hospital, where she fought to claw back her life after leaving her legs on the battlefields of Iraq, she crushed every single one of Hegseth's sophistries. The verdict, "You, sir, are a no-go at this station," doesn't carry the color of a politician's rhetoric. It's the roar of a commanding officer outright rejecting a recruit who doesn't measure up. If a man who cannot identify allied blocks and has never known what it means to manage an audit can simply waltz into the Pentagon solely on the back of his connections, what happens to the sanctity of our military? If you patiently watched until the very last second of this gritty political analysis, you are exactly the kind of citizen this country needs. Hit the like button to help these truth-exposing videos reach more people. Drop a comment below. I really want to hear your perspective on Duckworth's ironclad no-go verdict. Don't forget to share this video, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to ensure you are always one step ahead in grasping the truths hidden behind the closed doors of power. Thank you for watching.